PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Sydney Sabiston about Time Cut, which is going to be streaming on Netflix October 30th. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
It's spooky season, so this is a perfect movie for that, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Audition processes, depending on the project, are going to be different. What was this one like? Did you get the character that you auditioned for? Did y'all go for a few roles? And what was that like for you?
So actually, when I first got the breakdown for Time Cut, I read the synopsis. I fell in love with it because it was described as Back to the Future meets Scream, and the Scream movie, my ultimate favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to book this movie so bad. I kept submitting for it. I think I submitted for consideration a couple times. I can't remember now. But I wasn't getting into the room for it, and that's okay. That happens. So I was a little disappointed, but I had the opportunity to audition for the role of Jessica, which actually ended up going to Summer Howell, which is a local actor here in Manitoba. Yep. But I sent that off, kind of forgot about it. And as it was explained to me, now knowing, having had the conversations with the producers, I guess that tape made its way to their office, and then one of their assistants saw my tape and then pushed it to the producers and said, this actress is the perfect Val Vaughn. You really need to consider her. So they got in contact with our casting director here, Carmen Kodik, and said, we really want to see Sydney tape for Val. She got in touch with me and said, Sydney, they really want to see you tape for Val. Just have fun with her. And that's exactly what I did. A friend of mine came over. One of my best friends really worked with me on the tape because I was so determined to book it. And we sent it off. I didn't think about it for a couple days. And then I got the phone call from Carmen saying that I had booked the role. And I was just so proud and was screaming because I was just like, oh my gosh, this role was meant to be mine.
Yeah, the rest was history, basically.
The
Absolutely.
rest is history, yeah. Exactly.
It's so interesting too, because I love that Back to the Future Scream kind of comparison, because it really is the best of both worlds. People get to watch October 30th on Netflix. But I find it interesting too, because those movies have always been around, Scream's iconic and everything, but there's such a big popularity and appetite for that content these days. So I'm just wondering, what's it like kind of working in that kind of slasher horror movie world at a time where it's there's some of the biggest movies that come out. What's that like for you specifically?
It is my dream come true because I've always wanted to work in that genre, whether I was acting or working crew. That's always been my ultimate goal. So I am very lucky that it's coming back in a huge popular way. I think the last time it was, to me, this popular was the early 2000s, which is great because Time goes back to the early 2000s. I think that's perfect. But yeah, it really worked in my favor because now I'm getting all these opportunities to read these amazing scripts and work in a genre that I'm so passionate about. And I've been passionate about this genre since I was young. So I'm really happy about that.
And I don't want to go into big spoilers and everything, but I'm just curious, specifically some of your scenes with Val. I mean, I feel like it's hard, right? Because it's you read the script and you're like, ooh, this is scary, right? But then when you go and film it, maybe it's going to be scary, maybe not, because they put a lot of stuff in post, effects wise. But was it scary filming Time Cut specifically for your stuff, or not really?
No, it was. There was definitely moments where I was a little creeped out for sure. Especially because you're so present when you're on set, you have to be so in the moment. So, and on top of that, it's a lot of pressure. You have to, I don't even think people understand, it's not just lines. I mean, obviously you're there on the day, but you have to hit your blocking just right. And so even just experiencing that pressure is scary, but then having it be a slasher chasing after you. Yeah, that's definitely scary, despite the fact that I knew the person behind the mask very well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I was still very nervous, but
I always thought about some of those kind of iconic scenes that scared us growing up. I remember The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar, right? When she's showering. And I'm but I just feel I think even you go back to Psycho and everything, it's what do they think? Like, I don't know. I feel like some actors are so in the zone that they're probably not even thinking about any of that stuff. And then there's like, boom, scream. And then it's like, dude, you're dead. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but and you see these like, I will openly tell people I want to be a scream queen because you see a lot of these actors like they are it's not that their whole career is horror movies, but they often book horror movies like Sarah Michelle Gellar. And then, that's what really inspires me when I go into these onto set for these movies or into the audition room for these movies. I think about, Sarah Michelle Gellar or Samari Weaving or um uh
there's so many.
Yeah,
right now, like Sarah Paulson is one that's really killing it right now. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly.
there's a lot. And I think it's interesting because I think, there's different like ways to scare people now. Like it's not just the traditional kind of like slasher, although we love those. There's like the psychological, and I feel like that's kind of one of the reasons why the genre is getting bigger and bigger and more popular too.
Yeah, and it's such a huge genre. I mean, obviously you can have comedic moments and elements in there. You can have there's coming of age stories like with the new It movies. You can have some like deep sorrow, like you're mentioning psychological thrillers. Yep. There could be tons of action, like what's that movie? The Purge. Like The Purge has tons of action in it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's just an ever expanding genre, which is why, as you can probably tell, I have a huge passion for it.
Absolutely. And the timing of our conversation is perfect too, right? Spooky season. I feel like I watched so many of these movies. I've been really busy lately, so I haven't been able to watch as many as I want, but I feel like I'm traveling the next couple of weeks, but after that, I'm just going to like dial in and watch like 3 in a row, like every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to catch up on my spooky season calendar because I usually do one a day for 31 days.
That's a lot of horror content.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like my Netflix is just set on horror for like the entire month of October.
One of your films is going to be part of one of those marathons. That's crazy to think about, right?
I know. I was so pumped. Like I can't even talk about how proud I am of it. Especially because like it's going to be very nostalgic to a lot of people as well. So really looking forward to that. And then even reading the script, obviously you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Like we haven't seen it yet. Yep. But reading the script, knowing I was just pulled into every single page of that script. So I know that people are going to watch it and have a really good time because even just reading it, I was having the best time.
Absolutely. And then, another quick question also before we wrap up is like, from the storytelling acting perspective, like so much happens before you go to camera and time cut, right? Like so much happens before your Val and all those scenes and everything. So from an acting storyteller perspective, you could see it as 2 journeys, right? Before filming time cut and after filming time cut, or do you see it as one big journey with multiple steps in between? I'm curious about that.
That's a really good question. I was kind of going back and forth on this, but I do think I think it's like one long journey the more I think about it, just because it isn't just, before and after, because there is the during. But the before and the after, like you're in a perpetual state of, I feel like you're in a perpetual state of before.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you're done, you kind of have post-show blues. And then it's just, okay, well,
it's also funny that you mentioned that too, because I feel like you talk to a lot of all my actor friends say that like, the work is like the audition and before getting the role. And then when you get the role, it's not necessarily like a vacation, but that's kind of the time to breathe and like take it easy at times, right?
Yeah,
you think about it.
Well, especially I always tell people the way that I see it and the way that has brought me comfort is, the audition process is really like that's your meat and potatoes. Like obviously when you get the role, you're gonna dive into the meat and potatoes of the character. But that's where a lot of the work is. And then if you book it, that is the cherry on top. You have to be proud of yourself of what you do before, because how many people audition for the same role, but it only goes to one person. And so you can be just an amazing, amazing actor, but there's a lot of things that go into this process. And so if you book it, that's just the cherry on top. So enjoy it. Yeah. The after of it all, that's why I always say it's like a perpetual state of before, because the after you have post-show blues and then you're just back to the beginning of the before. It's the next project. You're just prepping, and hoping to get that next opportunity. So yeah, I think it is just one long journey. Because now, like, we filmed Time Cut a while ago, and now it's coming out, and now I'm finally getting to see, like, the memories of that journey I'm getting to see on my screen, and I'm really excited.
And we share them in like a new journey of the press, right? Which you could think about too, which is really cool.
Exactly.
No, for sure. And Time Cut, October 30th, worldwide on Netflix. I can't wait for people to check it out. I'm so happy for you. Sydney, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. No, I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Your Instagram account is just your name if people want to keep up to date with everything, right?
Yeah, Sid Sabiston.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popturn for previous episodes. You can catch Sydney Sabiston as Val in Time Cut, October 30th, worldwide on Netflix. Until next time, this is Sydney and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.